Right, well, good morning everyone, kia ora tātou, and welcome to this meeting of the Regional Council, last meeting of the triennium. Welcome to staff, media, and those in the swelling crowd. I'll ask Councillor Remersville to take us through the prayer, please.
E te atua, tō mātou kaihanga, O God our Creator, whakapaenga mātou katoa me te kaupapa o tēnei hui. Bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Arahina o mātou ingaro me na mātou ngākau, he mahi i ngā mahi pai, mō te hapori me to iwi nui tonu. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community and help all your people. A kona mai mātou, kia humariri te titiro, kia tū maia i ngā wā e taumaha ana, kia puta ai te whakatau e tika ana ki tau titiro. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. E ino ato nei I runga I te ingoa o ihu karaiti tō mātou ariki. We ask this grace through Christ our Lord. Amine. Amen.
Right, thank you. Okay, any apologies for this meeting today? Anyone? No apologies. Notices? Anyone have a notice? Councillor Scott?
When we get to item 17, the renamed item 17, can we make sure that we have a range of staff here to be able to address questions in that?
Yes.
Perhaps Helen Shea, Graham Hanson, then the Managing Director.
Yes, thank you. Okay, make a note of that. We will ask that question. Any other notices? Thank you. Conflict of interest declarations. Okay, the minutes of the meeting. Here we go. Thank you. The 28th of August. For accuracy, everyone got a copy there? Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, 6, 7, page 8, page 9, 10, 11, and 12. Someone happy to move on that basis? Councillor McGregor's happy to move that. Councillor Douglas, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Any matters arising from those minutes? Thank you. Okay. General business items. Just give me a second here. I have one, MTG.
Mr. Chairman, the government's oil and gas exploration block offer for 2014.
Scott. Reports. Okay, thank you. Action items on page 3. Ms. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll ask Mr. Maxwell just to refer to the first one.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. It's just confirmation that we estimate is about 2 weeks of staff time to complete that report as discussed at the last meeting. And that would be available for the Environment Services Committee meeting in December.
I've got a question. Is that an external, like that's tasking someone internally 2 weeks, or is that getting someone in to actually quantify some of that stuff?
That's tasking somebody internally to do that work for us. Yeah. So it will obviously take her away from her other priorities, but if that's required, that's what
Has
we'll
it
do.
started?
No, it hasn't started as yet. She's scoped it. She has an idea in mind of how to put it together, but it hasn't begun. Yeah.
Chairman, this was a request, not a council resolution, and I think judged on the, I'm not sure what senior staff member charge out rate is, but looking at some of the average rates, we're looking at $8,000 just to actually bring back this report, and how we can reduce CO2 emissions, and frankly we're not going to be reducing them in the world by any great extent. I'm questioning what is the value of 2 weeks of a staff member on this when we've got other very pressing. I'm not suggesting in any way that reducing our CO2 emissions is not important, but I think there are more pragmatic ways of achieving a result than spending 2 weeks on doing a report.
Clarification, Mr. Chair. I mean, this was actually agreed to by council, wasn't it?
It wasn't a resolution, it was a request through the action items, but
No,
But
excuse
it was
me,
actually-
Mr. Chairman, it was voted on.
it was
it was
voted on.
agreed
It was
upon.
voted on, yes.
So I
Pretty straightforward then, isn't
yeah,
it?
we don't need to relitigate this now.
Report when it comes, is there any intention to then formulate policy based on it, or is this just a report to tell us something that may or may not happen, because we don't actually have any sort of policy or response to climate change except to think, I think the official one is we're possibly building the Ruataniwha Dam. So is this a first step in a process, or is this just a report to tell us something that might happen or might not?
I can't sort of tell you whether or not you will or should adopt it into policy and take further action on it based on this report. At this stage, we don't know until the report's written and all the investigations are done and the report's written to say, well, what could change, what's material, what's possible, what would be effective. So it's kind of difficult to give you a clear answer on that, I'm sorry.
To clarification, is this report going to confirm or deny that climate change exists, or what's the starting point for this report? Is there climate change? We're not sure. Or?
No, it's not intended to relitigate or review whether climate change is real or not. It's to look at what this council could do to reduce CO2 emissions.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Action item 2 has been dealt with, as has number 3. That was a report that came to you at the corporate and strategic meeting, and action item 4 is the subject of agenda item 14 on today's agenda. Also over the page are the Local Government Official Information Act requests received between 22nd of August and last Friday, Tuesday. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask, with regard to those Lagoima requests, why are they published?
There was a request from council for us to include all the Lagoima requests received on the council agenda.
Because I've had some feedback from media where they've made requests and sometimes that's felt that they've given their opposition an unfair advantage, you know, when they're trying to work on stories, and all of a sudden they're out in the public and they might be wanting to work.
We
on
can't have it both ways. If we've requested, the councillors want to be kept up to speed. I think this is the way to do it.
Very briefly, Mr. Chair, I go back to the action item 1 and the climate change report that was requested. A very fair and reasonable request, I would have thought, and the request itself was to consider updating on the latest science on climate change. Not a bad thing to do, I would suggest, and for the Council to consider ways of reducing its CO2. I mean, one example comes to mind in terms of managing of its vehicle fleet. There are a multitude of opportunities to take action, but more significantly, I think, keeping an eye on the ball around climate change is an important function of Council. So I am a little nonplussed, I think, by the attitude of staff around this, that it's somehow an inconvenience to produce the report. It is an important part of Council business to be involved and to consider and to keep in its forefront of its thinking its response to climate change and any opportunities to work that through. I mean, we've had, for example, major investments looking to take place in forestry and the like, which is a clear mitigator of CO2 emissions, and we've made decisions on economic grounds to limit our developments in those areas. It could very well transact that consideration of climate change may influence Council in the future about that type of investment. So I would not resile from bringing regular reports back to Council, nor would I suggest that, or what I'd like to suggest that Council staff do keep as a priority its consideration of climate change as a part of the outputs of Council.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd echo that. I just think I've said this many times in the last few years. I'm not blaming staff. I'm blaming us as councillors. I mean, basically, I think when you get newspaper reports warning of catastrophic climate change in the near future, and we are the main and probably the only we are the major environmental agency in Hawke's Bay and one of 11 in the country. We're fiddling while Rome burns, and I find it absolutely extraordinary that our attitude towards climate change is so sort of desultory. I just find it incomprehensible that we have, as I think I asked this question 6 months ago, and we're told our official attitude towards climate change and our policy was to build the dam at Makaurua, and I thought, well, that's not really sufficient. So, as I say, I'm pretty well amazed at our lack of concern as councillors at what is widely regarded as potentially catastrophic, not just for us, but for everyone. And to say, oh, we can't do anything because there's little old Hawke's Bay is rubbish. You've got to act locally and think globally.
Thank you, Councillor Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I am a little bit surprised to find that this has been elevated to the level that it is, because I only found it as an action item and a response to an action item. However, we do actually have a science strategy that Council sets, and that is what drives the number of staff that are employed and the skills on that staff that are employed. And I think we have to be very careful making ad hoc decisions as to what science strand that we suddenly want included. There are warnings out there, and I totally agree with my colleague, Councillor Gilbertson. One of the biggest drivers of catastrophic climate change is population. So perhaps here in Little Hawke's Bay we should be looking to halve the population here, not increasing it. Globally, that is something that actually does have to be addressed, because of the shortage of food in the world is going to be one of the major factors that will limit the health and well-being of this planet. However, I don't see how spending 2 weeks of time on studying the latest science is actually going to help us here deliver what we should. And I certainly agree that we should be looking at ways of addressing progressing the forestation program, and that's exactly what we've asked staff to do, and it seems to me much better to concentrate our efforts on finding ways in which we can deliver these things rather than a global look at the state of the world and what the science is telling us. So I really feel that we're much better to consider our science strategy and the strategies that we have around us, like our direction over the afforestation program, and actually to be more strategic about how we spend our science research.
Mr. Dick.
It's been requested by Council. Get on with it.
Yeah, been made. I was just really wanting some illumination around what an S42A report is. Perhaps someone in the staff might be able to. Well,
I think we can talk about that at the morning tea. Yeah. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Remersville.
Mr. Chair, this isn't just an action item. It's actually, it was decided, as you know, on the 29th of May, by 7 votes to 2, I think, that the staff provide a report on this. And we're actually waiting quite a long time for this, Mr. Chair. I must admit I'm very disappointed, as this it's my last meeting of council, that it's taken so long to get any action on this, because it's universally regarded that climate change is one of the main dangers to the planet and to the people in this day and age, and it's just not a matter of population. It's far greater than that, and in fact the areas of population which are the greatest are usually the ones that are causing the fewest effects, the least effects on climate change. So as a global citizen, we need to take a leadership role on this, and it's actually very, very important. It's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect, the future generations. What we have left them with catastrophic climate change effects, and the sooner that we get onto this and try and deal with it as much as we are one small council. The future generations will not only thank us for it, but they will also curse us if we don't actually take this responsibility and move on. Thank you.